back to another midnight showing. As always, I'm Kelly, and I got out of Civil War, Captain America 3. And yes, that's the way it's being marketed, that's the way we're going to call it. I apologize for the lateness of this video. I've had to deal with a lot of crap with my computer, Windows 10, and copyright claims. It has not been a fun few weeks. But I am here now, and as you can see, I saw the movie and I've joined aside. So, was this movie good? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is it being overhyped as hell? Oh my god, absolutely. Jesus Christ, people, this isn't the end-all of superhero movies. Look, I said in my Batman v Superman video that critics need to get their heads out of their asses and judge the movie accordingly. I still stand by that statement, and I am saying it again here. Where Batman v Superman felt like they were bashing it for the sake of bashing it, this feels like they're praising it for the sake of praising it. Even going as far as to ignore very, very big plot holes and problems with the story and characters. Look, this isn't perfect. In my opinion, Winter Soldier was the superior movie. Okay? I know that's going to be controversial, but that's my opinion. And I'm not saying that this movie is bad by any stretch, but there are just as many moments in this movie that piss me the fuck off as there were in Batman v Superman. And they need to be discussed. So, my non-spoiler version is go see it, in which, let's face it, you probably fucking have already. I'm totally late on this video, and people were putting up videos about this 3 weeks before it even came out. So yeah, you've probably already seen it, but it is a must-see from me, because it is just a goddamn good, fun action movie with some very good lines and quips. And best part, it was so much fucking better than the Civil War comic, which sucked. Which is one of the reasons why I was not looking forward to this movie. But for those that want to stay for spoilers and want to hear my complaints with the movie and want to flag me in the comment section because I'm so totally wrong and don't get it, let's continue. So the basic plot of the movie is basically the same plot as Batman v Superman. It's all about accountability. Everybody is scared of these Avengers who are just crossing international borders to do whatever the fuck they want, taking down what they call evil organizations without any real regard for the country's sovereignty or anything. And that's where this movie opens up with the entire Avengers crew, minus Tony Stark, basically trying to find Crossbones from the last movie, who is in the state of Wakanda. I just realized I said state, not country. I apologize. My bad. And during the chase, in an attempt to take down Captain America with them, Crossbones hits a suicide bomb, but it gets contained by the Scarlet Witch. She tries to throw the explosion high up into the air, but she can't contain it fully, and part of the explosion ends up taking out the side of a building, killing, I think they said 17 people and injuring a lot more. Now, mathematically speaking, they could probably see the fact that he was going to blow himself up in a bazaar filled with 50 to 60 people who didn't go running when shooting starting inside of this non-third world country. I mean, come on. But this is seen as the tipping point, which causes 120-something countries inside of this movie to band together and issue the Sokovia Articles, which is the replacement for the comic books version's Hero Registration Act, because, well, the Hero Registration Act was about revealing yourself to the government, secret identities and all. The Sokovia Articles is more about just giving these guys oversight, getting their approval to go into these countries in these extreme situations. Which the movie does a great job of actually establishing both sides of this argument. For the oversight and against the oversight, which is basically Iron Man and Captain America. They do deflate Tony Stark's side of it quite a bit, though, just because it is Captain America's movie and they want to stick to that. And Tony Stark... Okay, I have real problems with Tony Stark in this movie. And I'll save that for a second. I'm just going to go on talking about the good of this movie for a second. The good is basically the acting from across the board minus Tony Stark. Because, holy shit, everyone just knew what they needed to do. How to portray themselves. You know, Vision, who's trying to be the logical, higher evolutionary. You have Cap trying to be the stoic, maybe arrogant hero who grew up in a time when things were a lot simpler than this, so he thinks in simpler terms and doesn't like the whole complications. You've got Rhodes, who is definitely through and through with the government, military. That's the way he goes. Yeah, Black Widow, who kind of is on the fence, trying to see both sides of the argument. You have Scarlet Witch, who's just really freaked out by the fact that she feels responsible for killing 17 people because she couldn't contain the fucking explosion. So, yeah, you can see where everyone's coming from. And a lot of this is portrayed through the acting. And the writing, it's basically Marvel standard, so yeah, it's still very good. But the real person who gets the standout praise as like the best actor in this movie is Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. I hope I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. AKA Black Panther, because this guy, you feel everything that he is fucking feeling. Look, I know this guy can act. I am not holding Draft Day against you. I know that was a shitty movie, and I'm sorry that you had to be inside of it. But I love you ever since the fucking James Brown biopic that you starred in, because that shit was awesome. And I know that you can act, and you just sold this role so well. So going on with the plot a bit, basically these articles are going to happen, whether they want to or not. So if you're on board, you're on board. If not, you get retirement right now, and no questions will be asked across the board. We're not going to go after you about anything that happened in the past, even though you're just trying to save the world from world-ending events. I mean, come on. But that's all in the past. We're just going to leave it at that. And you're retired. So at the signing of this, where all of the world leaders have gathered, a bomb goes off and kills a big chunk of them, including the current king of Wakanda. So then T'Challa has to take over his place. The current king was his dad, and you feel his emotions throughout all of this. He wants whoever did this dead. And it gets blamed on Bucky. It's not Bucky, but it gets blamed on him. And this is where we start to see the conflict between the two sides of this argument, which are very, very well portrayed here, because Cap doesn't want them to kill Bucky, but they're all going in gun-ho. They just want to get him gone. They don't even want trial. So he oversteps his bounds, and he goes in there with Falcon's help, and they try, emphasis on the word try, to end this peacefully. And at the very least, it's true that Cap and Falcon are basically arrested at this point. They still at least manage to get it to the point where Bucky's arrested too, rather than shot. So he's going to be put on some kind of trial, assuming that the psychiatrist that's talking to him has everything go well. It doesn't. Basically, the psychiatrist is actually Baron Zemo, who is another thing I have set inside in the rant territory in a second. But he wants to get a mission report from Bucky, so he reactivates his whole brainwash programming, which causes him to go on another killing spree, which causes Tony and Falcon to get him the fuck out of there as fast as possible so they can figure out what the hell's actually going on, while Tony Stark is gung-ho about just keeping the government all good and everything. And that's basically the movie. That's where the conflict comes in. There's no real climactic battle with Baron. Again, rant territory. But the superhero brawl and the actions in the side of this movie are just amazing. Look, there are two different types of action scenes in this movie. One is crap, the other is amazing. The amazing one are the CGI battles that involve the Avengers, all of the Avengers. There's a good little standoff they have inside of an airport. Captain America versus Tony Stark. You've seen the partial trailer shots where they actually edited Spider-Man out of one of them so they could get the line shot of all of Tony's side. Yeah, Spider-Man's actually in that shot. It's kind of funny. I noticed that when I watched it. It's just one of those cool things. And by far, that battle is the best part of this movie. Hands down. It's just over the top. Everyone gets a moment. You got one-liners back and forth. Spider-Man actually doing some shit that's actually really cool. He's quipping it up, and I don't know if I like this Spider-Man yet. I'm not going to rant about him. My problem is that I don't know what he's going for. Is he going for the teenage Spider-Man? If so, why? Because we've seen enough of that. Can we move on to a more adult Spider-Man, like the current comics? Or are we going to have this version of Peter Parker act more like freaking the Ultimate Universe's Spider-Man, whose name I can't remember at the sudden? Are we going to have him act more like him, or are we going to actually Peter Parker. We'll see. We don't know yet. I'm not going to rant about him. I'm just going to say that the scene where Tony Stark recruits him is way too fucking long, okay? It takes up way too much time. And who they cast as fucking Aunt May? No. They only casted her because she's hot and they wanted Robert Downey Jr. to hit on her, which is totally inappropriate and completely out of character to what the rest of his psyche is basically going into that rant in a minute. It's just, that scene went way too long, and that would have worked better as the end credits scene instead of what they actually put as the end credits scene, which are basically just builds to the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. But by God, Ant-Man was the best part of this fight because he went big. And when he does, the whole fight changes. It's fun action awesomeness. And I could praise that forever. And yeah, that's basically the end of the praise section. Now let's get into the actual meat of things. First off, the second action type I told you about, non-CGI battles, regular handheld battles, are shaky cam as shit. It's not the worst I've ever seen. It's not quite on par with, say, something like The Bourne Identity, where, the shaky cam fast editing improves it. It's just that it's really bad. And when I saw some of the behind the scenes of them filming this shit, they literally had the camera on a bungee cord and had the guy holding the camera like this. That's not good camera work. Look, if you need the cord to stabilize it so you can get the low angle shots, I understand. But it should not be bouncing up and down. Don't do that. Please, it's annoying. Just show the action like it's supposed to be. Just show it with a straight on shot. Hell, if you want some moving camera, actually get some dynamic movement inside of there and, follow the punches as they go into the guy's face or something. You can do more than just, plant the camera at a medium shot just to show everything. You don't have to plant it there and then shake it up and down and call it good camera work. It's not good. Next thing to rant about. Robert Downey Jr.'s acting in this movie was very good. If he had been drinking. He wasn't drinking inside of this movie. Yes, he was depressed. He was feeling very sorry for himself. But, for fuck's sake, give him a fucking reason. Give him something here. Because he's just acting like he's drunk on screen the whole time. But he's never touched the damn bottle. As far as the Iron Man movies go, I am one of those guys that actually didn't mind that they didn't go the demon in the bottle route with him. Okay? This isn't the same character. They want to go in a different direction. But it's pretty clear at this point that the writers just want Robert Downey Jr. to act like he's drunk. They want to give him this pity plea. His life is falling apart. Pepper isn't in this movie, probably because Gwyneth Paltrow said no, but also because apparently they're separated. They're just taking some time off with each other. And it's all because of all the different events that have been going on inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Which doesn't make any lick of sense in my opinion because, world-ending events, if he had the means, he's got to be a part of it. You could always use that extremist shit and help out. I'm just saying, Gwyneth, you can do something. But I got really, really tired of wondering why he doesn't have a flask with him. Or wondering why he doesn't, look at the bottle and just, grab it and just put it down like he's trying to fight it. Okay? He is depressed as fuck. And it's pretty clear that Tony Stark in this movie is not mentally stable. Okay? There's a really great scene where a lady basically shoves into his face that he killed her son, who was in Sokovia on a relief mission. Which, okay, collateral damage, we didn't get everybody out of there, but you do realize there was an evil maniacal robot that was trying to crash the city down. Yes, Tony Stark made said robot, but I really doubt that that's public knowledge. Yes, the Civil War comic did something similar to this inside of a crowd of people where they're basically throwing the shit at Tony, but inside this movie it was done a lot more subtly and it wasn't as ham-fisted, so I will give it praise. But at the same time, this is the kind of shit that drives people like him to drink. So why not let him drive? Why not drive him to drink? You basically have him acting drunk for the rest of the movie, so just let him pick up the damn bottle. You don't even have to go the full demon in the bottle route. You just have to show that he's trying to find a way of coping right now. I'm just saying, by far, the biggest, most ignored thing about this movie that the critics don't seem to want to acknowledge is a problem is Baron Zemo is fucking pointless in this movie, and not Baron Zemo. I am not going to bash the actor Daniel Brühl. I'm not even going to try. This isn't a bash on his actor because he did a fairly good job with what he's given, which is jack shit. The problem here is complete writing, okay? For one, what was the point of his role in this movie? All he did was dig up a file that had a video of Bucky killing Iron Man's parents. That's literally all he did. He blew up a building and he killed a Hydra agent and he pulled up a video. That's it. This is the guy we were supposed to be afraid of? On top of that, this was not Zemo. He refused to wear the mask. He doesn't even have a costume design that resembles the original one. He never uses a fucking sword. And above all, he's not a fucking Baron. Yet he's still called Baron Zemo. What kind of fucking idiotic parent in Sokovia names their kid Baron? Why? He was completely pointless in this movie. Okay? His whole arc is basically he wants revenge because his wife and kid were killed inside of the fucking Sokovia attack inside of Avengers. Okay, I get that. You know what? Most people wouldn't blame the people who tried to help. They would blame the killer robots that threw debris onto your wife. I'm just saying. And also, just a side note, I've heard people praise the fact, oh, well, he's listening to those messages on his phone that we think are actual calls from his wife, huh? That's very good. I liked it better when I saw it in Arrow.
The night your mother died, she called me. I woke to a voicemail from her.
Dad?
Her final gift to me.
Malcolm, I'm in trouble. I told him to take everything. My money. My ring.
Turn it off.
He shot me. I screamed for help, but no
one would come.
Oh God, Malcolm, I don't want to die alone.
Or when I read about it inside of Kenichi, the Mightiest Disciple. This isn't an original thing. I've seen it done better before, and with characters who actually, have traumas that actually make sense for them to act like this and have them just listening to all of these messages again. I'm just saying. Look, a much, much better version of this would have just been have Zemo find Bucky at the very beginning, reactivate him, use him to try to blow up this UN building, have Zemo captured there, and then Captain America trying to get Bucky off to some mental health ward rather than the electric chair. That would have been enough to cause this divide and would have kept the movie focused on Captain America and Iron Man and Bucky. Bucky feels like he takes a back seat in the movie again, just like he did in Winter Soldier. He feels like he's a fucking henchman. He feels like he's just there. And I shouldn't be more focused on these two characters than the one that's really supposed to be just as pivotal as them at this point. Look, this is an adaptation of a very famous comic event. Fair enough. I get that. But it's also a sequel to Captain America 3. So you have to find a balance here. And they didn't. It was quite clear that there's more civil war than anything else, and both Bucky and Zemo get the shaft because of it. Tony Stark technically gets the shaft because until he finds out that Bucky killed his parents and goes on a murderous rage to try to kill Bucky over his mother, you don't really feel anything on his side. You don't. Can you see what I mean by critics ignoring some pretty big, heavy-duty shit? Look, I admit, some of it is comic book stuff, and most critics aren't going to get that, and hell, most average moviegoers aren't going to get that. I completely understand. But at the same time, this isn't shit that should be ignored by those who do know it. And I know plenty of critics out there giving this almighty godly praise, but still are ignoring pretty obvious shit problems like this. Tell me this. Why are we praising this movie for having our heroes divided again and having to fight each other and have dick measuring contests when not a year ago we were getting mad at Avengers 2 for doing that exact same shit? Hypocrisy much? Just saying. I'm one of the people that actually put the Avengers 2 on his top 10 list. Granted, it was number 9, but at the same time, it was still one of the best movies I saw last year. And guess what? This is still one of the best movies I've seen so far this year. Is it probably going to make the top 10 list? Probably. I saw a lot of trailers. I don't think that there's going to be many things going to knock things off that I have tentatively listed at the moment. But am I going to put it as fucking number 1? No. This has a lot of movie-breaking problems that we shouldn't ignore. So, yeah, my final verdict is still must-see. But take it with a grain of salt. You want to take the hype and just slice it in half. Don't go in there with any fucking expectations about how amazing balls this movie is going to be. Just go in there to see a good movie. Is it going to be a good movie? Was it definitely better than this, even though it was basically the same plot? Unfortunately, yes. I am a DC fan, but I will admit this was done a hell of a lot better. But they still fucked up a couple of the bad guys. Marvel is still doing that. Just saying. So yeah, that's it for me. Have you seen Civil War? Am I totally full of shit? Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below. Maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going. And as always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and share this video with your friends. Be sure to follow me on Twitch and Twitter, and like me on Facebook. I almost screwed that up. I do have another project I am working on. I don't know exactly when it's coming out. I have a set built over there. I've got a script written, and I'm going to film it tomorrow. I just don't know how long it's going to take me to edit, so it's coming. A great project, something you're going to like, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit. And yeah, that's it for me, so I'll see you all next time.